Today in our Research Like a Pro Q&A series, I share productivity tips from Cal Newport's book, Slow Productivity. I discuss the three core principles from the book and how they apply to work in genealogy research. Those principles are first, do fewer things. Second, work at a natural pace. And third, obsess over qualities. As genealogists, we often have more projects on our plate than we have time for. So it's a good thing for us to slow down and take a look at our habits and how maybe by slowing down, we can be more productive. So if you have listened to me at all or been through the course once, you know that I like to talk about David Allen's Getting Things Done method. But I just listened to a new productivity book by Cal Newport. He's written several books, and this one was called Slow Productivity, which just caught my attention because I thought sometimes, I feel a little burned out. I think we all feel burnout at times. And the subtitle here is The Lost Art of Accomplishment Without Burnout. So I really enjoyed listening to this book, and I'm just going to share a few things from it. He has three core principles, and I love that he uses a lot of examples. And in this case, he went back to some really historical, interesting examples like Benjamin Franklin and a lot of authors talked about how they actually got their book written and published. So it was really fascinating. So the first one was do fewer things. Second one was work at a natural pace. And the third was obsess over quality. So I just had a couple of thoughts or points that I wanted to bring out from the book. There are, of course, many, many more and many examples in it. So if you are intrigued with this idea, I would, say go for it. Go check it out and see if what you think about it. So this was really fascinating, this idea of focusing on one in-depth project at a time. And I think this just dovetails so well with what we do here at Research Like a Pro because we do have you focus on one project and you go really in depth and you spend, a good amount of hours just on that one objective. And for those of you who have been through the process, you know that you actually make progress when you do this. So I love that idea of one in-depth project at a time. And I thought this could also carry over to if we are working on something like a big digitization project or getting your photos all organized. I mean, there are other things we do in our genealogy lives besides research. And so just something to think about. Maybe the time that you work on something like that is after you've completed a project and then you take a break and do something else really in depth. And then the second one that I thought was really a great one is to limit the number of commitments. It is really easy for us to get caught up in saying yes to a lot of things, like maybe doing 3 or 4 institutes a year and signing up for every conference or, wanting to watch every single webinar. Maybe we need to just take a break and step back and think, well, how many things do I really want to commit to this year? And a lot of times we get asked because we are all part of volunteer organizations, our societies and different things to be on committees and go to meetings. And we really just have to look at that with our own calendar in mind, our own sanity in mind, how much we're going to commit to. This is such a good thing for the beginning of the year, too, to think about what we're going to do. So those are a couple of things. And I think we all think of stepping back and not doing as much, but we have to really actively um, commit to do that. I know I came downstairs, my office is upstairs, and I went downstairs to the kitchen and told my husband, I just said no. Someone had asked me to be part of a musical group for a church thing, and I was like, no, I don't want to commit to a bunch of practices and doing that. So sometimes we just say no. All right, so principle number 2, work at a natural pace. This was really fascinating as well. And the interlude, the author calls them interludes, where he gives you a really in-depth example from history. And he talked about how back in the day, farmers would work really, really hard spring, summer, and fall, but then they would have this seasonal break in the winter where they couldn't do couldn't work in the fields and they would maybe reset and have a little bit different season. And he really encouraged us to do the same thing, which I thought was brilliant. So he says, plan for breaks daily, weekly, and yearly. And I especially like this idea of yearly because we tend to have really busy seasons where we're working actively on something. We're just doing a lot of things. And then maybe we just need to take a couple of months off where we slowed way down to help us reset our batteries. And then this was a great idea to double the estimate of time for task completion. So this works so well with this idea of research because we might say to ourselves, okay, I'm going to take maybe 5 hours to do my locality guide. But then you get into it and you're enjoying it and you realize you want to do more, whatever time you think you will want to spend on something, double it. Say, okay, I'm going to give myself 10 hours. And then you won't stress because you're going over time, this random time that you've given a task that you're going to do. So that was a really interesting thing to think about to double the estimate. And I think we all realize how that works. And then keep returning to important work. So, we all have our projects we want to keep returning to, our ancestors and those projects that we keep working on, and that's good. We want to keep returning to these important things for us. And then finally, principle number 3, obsess over quality. And when I first heard that chapter title, I thought, oh goodness, is he going to talk all about getting things perfect? And he right away said, you want to make progress, not perfection. Progress matters most, not perfection. But you also want to make sure you are doing enough work that you are getting good quality work. So give yourself time to do great work, but not unlimited time, which kind of goes back to the one before about giving yourself double the time. And I think this applies really well with something like the research report, where you could probably spend 20 hours on a report. You could spend 30 hours on a report, but, you know, don't go forever. Give yourself a limit that makes sense and that will still allow you to do really good work. So many things just to think about and to balance as we are thinking about our work and what we want to accomplish in family history. And so I hope some of those ideas will get you thinking and you can go check out the book and listen to it and draw your own conclusions.